Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for coming today for this course, which is the Observation and Opportunity Discovery Methodologies. It's a course part of the requirement of the MSc and the PhD for Inspiration Economy program. So we stopped here in exploiting the opportunities. And when we talk about exploiting the opportunities, we are focusing really on first the approaches that are required for exploitation, whether for observations or opportunities. There are several actually challenges that can arise when we are conducting observation and recording, including ethical considerations, observer bias, and inter-rater reliability. Because when you observe, you have your own paradigm, you have your own assumptions, you have your own attitudes, behaviors, and reflections. And this is going to affect the observation directly or indirectly. So therefore, one of the things that we can calibrate our observation is to use what we call ethical considerations. And when we talk about ethical considerations, we talk about observation and recording that can raise the ethical concerns, particularly when it involves human subjects like researchers, practitioners, which must take steps to protect the privacy and the confidentiality of the individuals being observed and ensure that their participation is voluntary and informed. The other thing we should take care about is the observer's bias. When the observers, they take their own observation, their opinions and biases should not influence the observations made, which means that they need to mitigate their observation bias. And this is through clear criteria for observation and through setting also objective for recording these observations. The third thing is the inter-rater reliability. And this refers to the degree of agreement between different observers conducting the same observation, how they've seen the situation in a certain area. To establish this reliability, it is essential to establish a clear criteria for the observations and train observers on the method of observation so that they come up with a certain agreed observations. In order to exploit the intrinsic opportunities through observation, we need to be a human-centric and build a human-centric economy. Without first deeply observing a human and community context, their unmet needs, we cannot actually, and their untapped solution and hidden assets and cultural dynamics, we cannot really be human-centric, and we cannot build a human-centric economy. So we need to focus on the human and community context, the human or community unmet needs, or the untapped skills, or the hidden assets within a community, or the cultural dynamics within a community. Observation provides the real world data that moves the focus from abstract financial metrics to tangible human potential. Therefore, we see that it's very important when we exploit the intrinsic opportunities, we think of the problem as opportunity. And we manage our perception about the expected results through exploiting the intrinsic opportunities inside the problem through the observation. So the observation will help us to bring other positive outcomes or impacts and create the difference through, again, focusing on the wealth of assets within the community, which is means the availability of assets that can help us to overcome the challenges of the problem and change it to be a development stage. Now, one of the things we see that when we talk about observation is that we need to have a critical, curious thinking, which means we should have a multidisciplinary, holistic perspective, clarity of life purpose, trustworthiness, capacity to look beyond, reinventing the communication model, mitigation of risk, and proactiveness. All of these will help you to bring better clarity and life purposefulness to the people who's working on the collection of observation or exploiting the opportunities. When we exploit the opportunities, actually, we are having both hidden risk, hidden opportunities, visible opportunities, and visible risk, which means we destroy globalization, which means that when we see this, we study what destroy globalization, we study what make a decentralization an issue, we study the entrepreneurial or welfare or unity possibilities, and we study actually the selfishness that is spreading all over the world. So we have then always the balance between opportunities, which is hidden or visible, and risk, which is hidden and visible. Balancing these or having the understanding the interconnection within these will bring for us more results and outcome that can manage the complexity and bring a better multidisciplinary approaches. One of the things that's very important is that we should always remember that observation is an act of recognizing and noting a fact or occurrence. So we're looking for facts or an event that once it is occur, we can collect it, and we start to analyze it through a certain behavior where the events in the field can help us to focus, and it will help us to build physical characteristics in the natural setting. Observation can actually overt, which is means that or covert, where we can do it through overt, which means that people knows that we are observing them, or through covert, which is people will not know that we are observing them. Okay, so that we can deliver an outcome, a certain outcome. So we might sometimes select that we collect observation without people noticing us. For example, patients who are, for example, in ICU, or sometime we collect it as a covert, which means sorry, as a covert, which like for collecting data about patients, or overt, which is people will know that, for example, the physicians, the nurses in the hospital, they have to know that we are collecting or observations about them to improve, for example, a certain protocol. So the observation involves both human and mechanical observation of what people do or what events take place during a certain situation. And this, of course, is collected as a process that is reflected into the outcome of the problem solving. There are types of socioeconomic observation. There are 4 types of observations: participant observation, non-participant observation. We have the covert observation, which is not openly known to the community under study, or the observation can be overt, which means it is an observation which is openly known to the community under study. And then the participant observation usually integrates itself into the group being studied. Observation is very important, therefore, for our socioeconomic studies, because they allow researchers and experts, inspiration economy experts and others, to examine what people do, and instead of just what they say. Because in observation, we don't take whatever people say. We focus on whatever we have seen people doing. And this is, again, the strength of the observation. Usually, we can categorize the observation within a community to have either high probability of occurrence, again, or a low probability of occurrence in this side. And whether they have high impact or a low impact if they are done of a specific activity or action. Now, area of top priority for example, self-sufficiency projects or papers, usually those that will have high impact for self-sufficiency and high probability of accuracy. One of the things that is help us to again categorize opportunities is that we need to know the type of the problem, the rewarding of the problem, and the targeted approach that is used. So, for example, the problem is the community suffer turbulence on continuity of wheat, which is essential for community meals. The rewarding of the problem, how can we address shortage and build self-sufficiency in wheat with minimal resources, with minimal financial resources? So the targeted approach is that we evaluate and then design solution for the community as per their capacity and functionality. Specifying the type of the approach actually will enhance the self-sufficiency network and also the community conditions. So first what we do is that we identify the chronic, complex, and challenging socioeconomic problem, and then we start our exploration of field focus observation, and then we go further on the exploration to see opportunities and currencies, and finally we actually build the outcome without the resources and power. So I think we'll stop here and we'll continue in the next class. Thank you very much.